Namaste, ni hao, and salute everyone. With immense happiness, Malayali Association of Social Workers in Ontario, Maso, would like to invite you all to the celebration of Asian Heritage Month. The month of May in Canada is dedicated to celebrating Canadians of Asian descent who throughout the history of Canada have done so much to build this country. It is the commemoration of the timeless contribution of Asians have made and continue to make in creating a thriving and equitable country. The endurance and perseverance we have exhibited, overcoming all the discriminations through breaking the chains and standing together for our rights of inclusion and equity, recognizing all those endeavors, we have gathered here together to celebrate Asian Heritage Month. Now I invite a group of young souls here to start the Canadian anthem, followed by national anthem, Indian national anthem. So I welcome George Allen, Sastup Rakesh, and Rishabh Rakesh.
मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल गायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you very much. Now I invite Mrs. Asha Dev for delivering the land acknowledgement.
In the spirit and intent of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations, we acknowledge the traditional indigenous territories on which we gather at the beginning of all Maso meetings. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, Métis, and the Mississaugas of the Scugog, Hiawatha, and the Alderville First Nation. By learning, understanding, and acknowledging, we wish to pay respect to the Turtle Island, Mother Earth, and to the rich Indigenous history of Ontario.
Thank you, Asha. A true mark of leader is to instill the hope of success, the choice to serve the community. And proudly for Maso, we have a leader of the same kind. I invite Mr. Georgie John, President of Maso, to deliver the welcome note.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Maso executive team and Maso family, I would like to extend warm welcome to each one of you. Our friends from our workplace, representatives from other organizations, our youth, and all our members who are present here today. MASO is a registered not for profit organization dedicated to serving all social workers of Malayali descent and their families and the Canadian community at large in Ontario. The primary objective of MASO is to promote networking and capacity building for its members, connecting them with appropriate resources. MASO's core focuses is on ongoing professional development, and most of its members working significant roles at various government and non-government organizations. We are so fortunate to have many distinguished guests to celebrate Asian Heritage Month with us today. I'm taking this opportunity to specially invite our chief guest, Honorable Bardish Chagger, Minister of Diversity and Inclusion and Youth. Special guest, Honorable Raymond Cho, Minister of Seniors and Accessibility. Honorable Deepak Anand, MBP for Mississauga and Malton. Dr. Gaibrie Stephen, ER physician in the Peel region. And our keynote speaker, Mrs. Katherine David. Diversity represents one of Canada's greatest strengths, and over the last 2 centuries, immigrants have journeyed to Canada from East Asia, Southeast Asia, Western, and Southeast Asia, bringing our society a rich cultural heritage representing many languages, ethnicities, and religious traditions. The people of this diverse, vibrant, and growing community have contributed to every aspect of life in Canada, from the arts and science to sports, business, and government. Asians in Canada have a long history in the labor movement. Asian migrants and Asian Canadians have faced discrimination, exploitation, and danger in many of Canada's workplace. Even today, many of our Asian communities experience racism and Islamophobia and other forms of discrimination on individual and institutional levels. Asian Heritage Month offers all Canadians an opportunity to learn more about the history of Asian Canadians and to celebrate their contribution to the growth and prosperity of Canada. It is important to recognize that Asian Canadian history is part of Canadian history and should not only be highlighted during this month, but integrated throughout the year. Ultimately, events like this will help in bringing Canadians closer and encourage Canadian society to have intercultural dialogue and open the door to a greater understanding about our complex identity as Canadians. Welcome, everyone, and enjoy the event.
Thank you, Joji, for such a heartwarming welcome. Asia has 48 countries, and 6 million ethnic Asians call Canada their home. To celebrate all these countries, Maso has designed a video inviting the tiny tots and young leaders to join us in celebrating this event.
Hello. Let me start by asking, did you guys know there's 48 countries in Asia? I know, right? So cool and interesting. Shortly, we'll be able to see various countries in Asia, their languages, and the traditional attire. Before that, I would like to mention that we are not appropriating different cultures, and the purpose of this presentation is to appreciate and value the vast cultures and diversity we have in the Asian diasporas in Canada. Each country has its own unique culture and tradition, and we acknowledge our limitations by representing this spectacular diversity. Our cultural diversity is an integral part of who we are as individuals and as a community. This video by the MASWO youth team is an effort to understand the amazing countries and their cultures in Asia, to strengthen our cultural diversity and unity. Now, let's get into the video.
Assalamualaikum. Biasa.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Kumusta ka?
Assalamualaikum.
Hello.
Konnichiwa.
Salam alaikum.
Marhaba. Alu kihine.
Come on.
Iglava.
Marhaba. Assalamu alaikum. Salam.
Shukran.
Salamat pagi. Assalamu alaikum.
Bhutan is the only carbon negative country in the world. Assalamu alaikum.
Swabi.
Ni hao. Apa kabar?
Salam. I won.
Salamat pagi.
Marhaba. This is how you greet people in Jordan.
Kamal Chopa.
Shukriya.
Iyo.
Shalom.
Tanasiye. Marhaba. Don't rip swap.
The highest mountain on the earth, the Mount Everest, is situated in Nepal. Marhaba.
Sambanu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salim.
Marhaba.
안녕하세요. 나네요. 부간에서.
Bari arvut. Inch Perseus.
Namaste.
Assalamu alaikum.
Kamanacha.
Now that you've seen the countries in Asia, their cultures and traditions, wasn't it amazing? Asian cultures are a vital part of the multicultural social fabric of Canadian society. Our cultural heritage is important for us. It significantly defines who we are as individuals and communities. Let us unlock the great value and power in growing rooted in our culture and heritage, while being people and communities of multiple identities. Together, we will grow and flourish. Together, we will make Canada and the world a better place to live. Thanks for watching this video. Happy Asian Heritage Month to all.
Wow, that was truly a charm to watch the video. Beautiful, and really appreciate the hands behind this piece of vibe. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Charles Thomas, Executive Committee Member of Maso. He is an integral part of Maso and the best person to speak about Malayali, Malayalam, and Maso. Over to you, Charles.
Kerala is one of the most progressive provinces in India. It is a hotspot for tourists around the world and is popularly known as God's own country. Kerala has a population of 34 million with a low per capita income of 2,983 USD. However, globally, Kerala is known for its social development and quality of life. Kerala has high life expectancy, low birth rate, and low infant mortality rate. Kerala's literacy rate is highest in India and among many Asian countries. In Kerala, women outnumber men. The literacy rate for women in Kerala is one of the highest in all of Asia. Kerala has the heritage of women-headed households and has a high rate of women in the workforce. Kerala is reputed for its excellent medical and educational achievements and facilities on par with many Western countries. Kerala produces high-quality human resources, and its social development is significantly fueled by foreign remittance. The people of Kerala are called Malayalis. The word Malayali is associated with the word Malayalam, which is the mother tongue of the people of Kerala. Kerala is known for its vibrant civil society, with a high degree of political and civic engagements by the youth and women, especially from the marginalized communities. Malayalis are seen in every nook and corner on the planet, and they are known for their adaptability and excellence. Malayali immigration to Canada began notably in the 1950s. Over the decades, the Malayali population in Canada has grown significantly, especially in the 2000s. Largely, the immigrants from Kerala are highly educated and skilled. Majority of them work in the service sector like nurses, social workers, teachers, software professionals, etc. Malayali Association of Social Workers, MASO, was initiated by a group of dedicated professional social workers to support social workers and the recent immigrants to Canada in 2003. Currently, MASO has more than 300 members. MASO is a community-based organization. We provide multiple services to our members and a community at large. MASO has effectively collaborated with the Indian consulate in Canada and many community-based organizations during the COVID-19 pandemic to support our communities. MASO has received appreciation for its work from the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, and our work has been highlighted by the Honorable MPP, Mr. Deepak Anand, in the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. We envision MASO as a creative space for all social workers to come together, learn from each other, support each other, and give back to the community to build a better Canada for us and for the generations to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, Charles. That was delightful to know. She resides in Waterloo, graduated from University of Waterloo with a Bachelor's of Science degree. She was the first female leader of the government in the House of Commons in the history of Canada. She was named as the Minister of Small Business and Tourism by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in 2015, a recipient of Pink Attitude Evolution Women of the Year Award, and many more. Service above self is said to be her accurate reflection in civic engagement. This is just a synopsis of none other than our Honorable MP of Waterloo and the Minister of Diversity and Inclusion and Youth, Mrs. Bardish Chagger. I would like to kindly invite you, Honorable Minister, now to share your thoughts on Asian Heritage Month with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me. I do want to start by acknowledging that I'm joining you from Waterloo, Ontario, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. And I want to say thank you to the Malayali Association of Social Workers in Ontario for inviting me to be here today and for the great work you are doing to support the Malayali communities across Ontario. You're having an impact across the country, and I know there's people around the world watching as well. And I must say, Sat Sri Akal ji. So my family comes from India, Punjab, and that's how we would say hello. And a massive shout out to the young people who made that video. It was so informing and it was really energizing. So I really thank you for sharing that with me as well. I'm really pleased to be here with you today to celebrate Asian Heritage Month. Over the last month, Asian Heritage Month represented a unique opportunity for everyone from coast to coast to coast to come together to recognize and celebrate the significant contributions that Canadians of Asian descent and their communities have made and continue to make to the growth and prosperity of Canada. Le mois du patrimoine asiatique nous invite tous à en prendre davantage sur la grande diversité des cultures qui composent les communautés asiatiques au Canada. Nous savons que la pandémie de la COVID-19 a touché tous les Canadiens et de manière disproportionnée certains segments, les communautés asiatiques ne faisant pas exception. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the world, all Canadians, and disproportionately certain segments, including Asian communities in Canada. One result of the pandemic is the terrible rise in anti-Asian racism and hate crimes. Asian communities across the country are sounding the alarm and drawing attention to the rise of anti-Asian racism in Canada. Our government is unwavering in our commitment to combat anti-Asian racism in all of its forms. This year's theme, Recognition, Resilience, and Resolve, focuses on embodying Pan-Asian diversity and the invaluable achievements that Canadians of Asian descent have made in all sectors of society, as well as addressing the return of the rise of anti-Asian racism in Canada. The COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated the spread of stigma, discrimination, and violence fueled by anti-Asian racism. But we also know that the pandemic has exposed the inequalities, the inequities that exist within our society. And I want to commend the young people who continue to have a voice to make sure that we're combating poverty, that we're building a more consciously inclusive Canada, that we are taking climate change seriously and making sure that we're building a cleaner, greener future for all Canadians and the world. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said, hatred and intolerance in all of its forms are absolutely unacceptable in Canada. Now more than ever, Canadians need to have recognition of the challenges faced by Asian communities across Canada. It is our collective responsibility to resolve and to step up by being allies and to take a stand together against xenophobia, hate fueled by misinformation, and all forms of anti-Asian racism. And it's about ensuring that together we are resilient against all forms of racism. As Minister of Diversity and Inclusion and Youth, I encourage everyone to denounce all forms of racial discrimination, learn about the rich Pan-Asian history of cultures and peoples, and celebrate the contributions of Canadians of Asian descent. And I think that's why I really enjoyed that video, because it was really about broadening our horizons and learning about the diversity of cultures, of languages, of food within the diversity of Asian cultures. And I think this is exactly how we build a more consciously inclusive Canada that we all want to see. So I'm thankful to be here, and I look forward to spending some time together with you, and then jumping over to Facebook to watch this performance live for the rest of your show. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was so insightful to hear. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. But we also have a few questions from our aspiring leaders of Maso. These young girls are enthusiastic and active members of our youth leadership program. They aspire to be the voice of youth and inspire. And without much ado, let me invite Anne-Marie Charles, Reba, and Angeline Benny, as they are eagerly waiting to hear your response. Now, I kindly request you to answer these questions they follow. Over to you, Anne-Marie.
Honorable Minister, I'm Anne-Marie, and I'm a grade 9 student. You are an amazing leader and a great source of inspiration for young people like me. I know you were the first female leader of the government in the House of Commons in the history of Canada. Your political career and the roles you played are outstanding. My question to you is, how have you been able to develop your leadership skills?
Anne-Marie, thank you so much for knowing so much about me. And I can't wait till we're in the post-pandemic world. So hopefully we can come together. I would say a lot of this is about our cultures and the way we actually are raised. Like within my family has come from India, from Punjab, and we take care of each other. So even though I'm born and raised in the Waterloo region, my first language is Punjabi, and I learned English and French at school because Canada has 2 official languages. When I was elected in 2015 and I had to go to Ottawa for the first time, I took my mom's cooking with me. I took Brontas in a jar, and they're always in my bag whenever I travel. And I'll tell you, it's never forgetting where we come from. And I think that's why I really appreciate being part of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's team, because he constantly reminds us to never forget where we come from and to focus on and stay true to who we are. Because I think that's how we build back consciously inclusive. I think sometimes what we do as a society is we try to emulate and be like other people, but each of us should be our true authentic selves, and we should be able to contribute in the meaningful ways we do. And I think that's where I saw you in the video. I saw you wanting to learn about other cultures, but also I saw the pride of your own culture within you. And I think that's what it means to be Canadian. And I think that's what it means to be a true leader.
Wow, that's so wonderful. And hello, my name is Reba. I'm a grade 9 student, and I'm an active youth member of MASWO. And my question is, we know you're such an active member in our community, and what are some resources that helped you become who you are today?
So I also volunteered a lot, and I sat on a lot of boards. So if I give you any advice, Reba, make sure you do write down all the volunteering you're doing and how you're participating. If I could do this all over again, I would have documented things a lot better. So as much as I love our cultures, I always looked at my friends and their parents would always have a little package with the gifts they got when, you know, they make for Mother's Day or Father's Day. It wasn't always the case in my family, even though my parents had a lot of the stuff, but they didn't have all my certificates and stuff in one spot. So I would say, make sure you keep a little folder that has all your stuff in it so that you can remember some of the things you've done that help you broaden your horizons. And so I would say volunteer, give back, ask lots of questions, and don't forget to remind yourself how great you are. I think oftentimes part of our culture, we're always looking for approval from everyone else, but we also have to be proud of what we're doing. So as a person who got involved in politics when I was 13 years old, I fought for certain things that were sometimes challenging for my family because our values didn't always line up. But at the same time, by having respectful dialogue, by having respect and regard for my parents, they shared it with me. We were actually able to build back more inclusive and understand where we were coming from. And I think that's where it comes down to is not throwing in the towel and getting upset, but rather understanding where somebody else is coming from. And then you also broadening your horizons, volunteering, giving back. And sometimes, you know, when there's things that you think you don't like, but you haven't tried it, giving it a try, because you actually might really enjoy it. And if you try it and you don't like it, hey, at least you tried it. Great question.
That's such an in-depth answer. Thank you so much for that. But my name is Angelin. I'm a grade 10 student in Bishop Redding. I live in Milton. And being a part of the politics is a very influential place to be in, as you are a part of politics right now. And it's a very influential role model. You're a very influential role model to like a lot of generations, right? So I was wondering, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind so that people would remember you from all age groups and ethnicities from Canada? And how do you want to achieve this goal?
So first of all, I want to say that my parliamentary secretary, Adam Van Couverden, is from Malton. And he is not only the parliamentary secretary for diversity and inclusion in youth, he's also responsible for sport. And because he comes with a sport background, he brings some of that experience as to how do we bridge different segments and interests. And I think that's where intersectionality matters. For me, I would not be here if it wasn't for all of the people who came before me and have laid track to ensure that we see more women in politics. And I'm a woman in science because in grade 6, I went to a day with a difference at the University of Waterloo. And we are still looking for more women to, participate and be active in fields of science. So I chose that to be a woman in science. And we need to see more women engineers. We need to see more women CEOs, just like we need to see more men nurses and teachers and stay-at-home dads, and the list goes on. And I really think it's about each of us being able to be our true authentic selves and to contribute in the way that we believe in, because then you enjoy it. So politics is my hobby. I never thought I would be elected as a member of parliament. When my grandfather came here in the early 70s, he probably didn't even dream about it because we never saw people who looked like us who were elected. But guess what? When you work hard and you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want to do it. So I always say use your energy for good, not evil, and use your energy to not only appreciate where we come from, but to lay track. So for what I want to do is when I became the first, Canadian of Indo-Canadian descent, Indian descent, South Asian descent to make it to the cabinet table, because we've seen men there, but never women there. And I was told to be the first. And I said, no, I'll only be the first if there's a second. So I kept saying I'm the only woman to have been there. And then when Anita Anand, Minister of Procurement, who is doing such a fabulous job to bring vaccines into this country, made it to the cabinet table, I went from being the only to the first. And so she is the second, and we want to see the third and the fourth and the fifth. So right now, as the first woman or the only woman to have been government house leader, we've seen women be house leaders on the opposition side, but never the government side. So I want to push to see more women be in that role. Our country has only had one woman prime minister. So I want to work with everybody listening out there that is interested in politics. I want to have conversations with you, and I want to see a woman elected as prime minister of this country. It won't be me because I'm laying track to make sure it can be one of you. So I think that's what it's really about, is not only appreciating who has fought for us, but to continue the battle until we achieve true equality. And I think the only way to get to equality is through equity. So giving a hand up to those who need it most. Great question again.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
We are immensely grateful for you to have responded to all those questions. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you to your young leaders as well. Maso has developed a youth leadership program, an ongoing program to help the young ones to have a platform to speak for themselves and to become a part in building stronger and prosperous community and to become a catalyst of change. Now I invite Ms. Angeline Benny, one of the leaders from our youth leadership program, to deliver a speech.
So Asian Heritage Month is a time where we collectively gather and embrace the contributions and uniqueness of the Asian community. In a world where racism is still an evident issue, I am proud to say that I live in a place where Asians are appreciated and celebrated. Since I am Indian and part of the Asian community, I was thrilled to be a part of MASWO, a team that shares a great message on multiculturalism and amplifies the unheard voices of the communities that are oppressed in our society. Our team is full of young, inspirational leaders that strongly believe in the strength that accompanies diversity. I believe that Canada's diversity is what makes us a remarkable nation. The country that we live in has many different groups of nationalities which have proven to be the power of our country. The beauty of Canada is seen when we celebrate these nations and become more open-minded to accepting and embracing these diversities in our nations. We have proven as a country that we are able to embrace diversity solely by the fact that we are gathered here today in order to celebrate Asian cultures and traditions. I came to Canada when I was 6 years old, and currently being 16, I have had the privilege of watching a country that I call home grow into a beautiful land of freedom and acceptance that it is today. By immigrating to this country when I was at a young age, I had the opportunity to truly understand and appreciate many cultures that we have in Canada, especially within the Asian community. I have interacted with people of many different ethnic groups, which has made me realize how small my world actually is. It has made me recognize how many cultures that I have yet to learn. Canada's diversity grows more each and every day. And for that reason, we must teach our future generations to embrace their cultures. By continuing to appreciate the Asian heritage and minorities, we will grow to be a stronger nation. Canada will be an example of multiculturalism, and we will leave an indelible mark in the history of Canada. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Angeline, for your insightful speech. It is time to add some color to the vibrant day we have. So now we have Miss Anjali John, a very talented being who have put together a medley. Let me keep the surprise and let us all enjoy.
Thank you, Anjali, for this wonderful performance. It was truly a treat for all of us. He arrived in Vancouver, British Columbia from Korea, achieved master's degree of social work, a master's degree of education, and a doctorate degree in counseling psychology from the University of Toronto. He has been a part of the Catholic Children's Aid Society as a social worker. He made his first foray into politics in 1991. At present, he is serving as the Ontario Minister for Seniors and Accessibility since 2018. He is a compassionate human being who cares and works towards the upliftment of the downtrodden in the community. Feels incredibly humbled to represent a riding of wide variety of diverse ethnic backgrounds and has continued to both the municipal and provincial level of diverse ethnic background and has continued at both the municipal level and the provincial level to serve and stand up for the people with dedication, compassion, and humility. This is brief about none other than our Honorable Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, Mr. Raymond Cho. I kindly request Minister to share a few words with all of us.
You are on mute, Minister.
Hello, everyone. I'm Raymond Cho, Ontario's Minister for Seniors and Accessibility. By the way, thank you so much for your kind introduction. I'm a social worker myself. I'm very proud Asian Canadian. And thank you so much for inviting me to your event. Thank you for having me here today celebrating Asian Heritage Month with you all. Great to see my good friend, colleague, MP Deepak Anand joining as well. He's doing marvelous work at the Queen's Park in his riding, All Ontario. This year's celebration is special as we are also marking the 20th anniversary of the month of May being declared Asian Heritage Month in Canada. Ontario is blessed to have a rich cultural mosaic. Our Asian communities are strong, vibrant threads in the tapestry of our province. Ontario has become a shining example of how people can come from all corners of the world and now call this province home. Throughout my 3 decades in public office, I've been in Toronto City Council for a long time. I have been lucky to work with the countless South Asian organizations like yours. I'm always encouraged by the strength and tenacity they embody. No matter what challenges arise, they come together, work collaboratively, and find a path forward. Before entering politics 30 years ago, I was a social worker by profession, which is why I feel like being home here today with my fellow professionals. This field holds a special meaning to me personally. Actually, I'm a politician now, but I do more social work. Social work is a great profession. You should take great pride in your profession. I understand how vital our profession is. We, as social workers, have an immense impact in our communities and the people around us. Social workers' efforts have the capacity to transform individual lives while also creating a ripple effect across the community, continuing a wave of inspiration and motivation for generations to come. I'm saying that out of my personal experience. The current COVID pandemic has highlighted how important social workers are. You are all frontline heroes. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the incredible work you do in the community, helping make our province a better place for all. Kudos to you all for joining this profession. And please keep up your good work. Thank you. And I look forward to the question and answers session ahead. By the way, our Premier Doug Ford, he really, for the new Canadians, and especially Asian Canadians, and they do appreciate the social workers, the frontline workers made a great contribution in this fighting against COVID-19. So thank you again, and I look forward to questions you'll be raising. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful speech you have shared with us. So let me not make you wait. I'll ask the first question from the people we have. That is, as an Association of Social Workers Heritage, we would like to work with government at provincial level to bring awareness about anti-racism and also promote Asian heritage. What resources do you think we can access?
Oh, thank you so much for raising very important questions. Our government is proud for the vibrant Asian population in Ontario who have contributed to our province so much. Our government caucus is the most diverse PC government ever. We have many great MPPs of Asian heritage, Chinese, Korean, Indian, in addition to Tamils. This government is proud to stand with the Asian Ontarians, and we're happy to support the preservation of that heritage. This is why our government has been actively engaging many different Asian organizations across the province. Our government has also been active in celebrating the 20th anniversary of the month of May being declared as Asian Heritage Month. We're always looking for more community partners to make our province more inclusive. And about the combating Asian racism in Ontario, everyone deserves to feel welcome, accepted, and safe. As a multicultural society, we throw our strength through diversity. This means everyone must be able to feel fully part of the society while also being able to embrace their culture, heritage, and background. This is why the recent spike in anti-racism, Asian racism in Ontario and across Canada is incredibly disheartening. Racism has no place in our society, period. Therefore, our government took immediate action to combat the alarming trend. We have given out safe and vital community grants to initiatives across Ontario that aim to tackle this issue on the grassroots level. On a macro level, our government, Ministry of Education, released a comprehensive plan to combat anti-Asian racism in schools. This plan will see 340 $100,000 in funding allocated to equity programs and community partners. This will ensure that our children can learn in a safe environment without fear and help make our communities more inclusive. I also like to share information on other anti-racism measures. Beyond the funding programs and initiatives, our government has also taken tangible steps towards stopping racism from spreading in our society. This week, MPP Vincent Koo, the member from Don Valley North, tabled the Anti-Asian Racism Education Month Act. This bill, if passed, would declare the month of May as the Anti-Asian Racism Education Month. It's very important. This would allow us as a society to educate ourselves on the pains that the racism inflict on the Asian community and would pave way for healing and strong unity. And the message from our government is clear. Hate is not welcome in Ontario, period. You know, Premier Duckworth is very upset about this racial discrimination against the Asians. And he emphasized, we shall not accept any kind of racial discrimination, especially racism against the Asians. And we have a total responsibility to fight against it collectively. And this is Ontario, and this is Canada. Okay.
Thank you, Minister. That was really a promising answer from your side. Moving on to the second question, that is, government has rolled out the Senior Community Grant Program to reach out and remain connected with seniors across the province. What are some challenges that you experienced in reaching out to the seniors from Asian or immigrant communities?
Oh, okay, thank you for another good question. And as an immigrant from Korea, myself, ensuring that our Asian and immigrant communities have access to information on government program is particularly relevant to me. I'm proud of the many marvelous recipients of our seniors community grants from our government. They represent a wide range of diverse ethnicities and geographies. We know that particularly for our seniors, being able to engage with the government in the language of their choosing is important. This is why our government expanded Ontario 211 to now be available in over 150 languages. We are making it easier for Ontarians of all ethnicities to receive information about government programs and services in the language of their choice. The biggest challenge that we have related to reaching out to seniors from Asian immigrant community is the same challenges we experience with other seniors, that we can always be doing a better job of communicating the support and programs available to them. The solution to this challenge is one of the reasons I'm here today. The solution comes through helping to create more advocates who can spread the message to every corner and the solution of this challenge is one of the reasons I'm here. The solution comes through helping to create more advocates who can spread the message to every corner of our province about what we have made available. In this way, you too can now help overcome the challenges encountered by helping to spread what we are talking about today. Together, we can work to ensure that everyone is aware of the supports which have been made available to them, and that even more quality organizations apply for the grants we have available. We are constantly looking at how we can reach more and more seniors, and we value any feedback you have to offer on how we can be even better in the future, and then you could work with me and with my ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Cho. That was really inspiring to hear, and we hope to be a bigger part of your team and the government with Maso. The next speaker that we have is an all-time supporter of Maso. He has supported us immensely throughout our growth journey, and he is more like a family member to us. A human with passion to help others and bringing changes in lives. It is none other than our MPP, Deepak Anand. Sir, we would like you to share your special remarks about the celebration of Asian Heritage Month.
Thank you so much. Ellarkum namaskaram. It's always a pleasure to be part of the family event. So it's always good to see Minister Cho here. I was actually about to ask Minister Cho a question, but I didn't want it to come in between the youth. So Minister Cho, my question to you is, what is the rationale behind your youthfulness?
Well, that's a good question. When I work hard for other people, and I feel always thankful. I'm so thankful that I'm prouder Asian Canadian. And when you work so hard for others, you have no time to get old, and you remain young, like me.
And next question to you, Minister Cho, is what is the best gift your mother gave it to you that you enjoy a lot, which you distribute to the others? So can you share with that gift, about that gift?
That's another important question, MPP Deepak Anand. I'm lucky, I'm telling you the truth. Every night, I thank my Lord, our God, for giving wonderful woman as my mother. And she's a single mom, by the way, she was. And she has given me so much, and so much wisdom. She's a very loving person. And even when she was mid-90s, she passed away when she was 100 years old. When I visited her in Korea in the 90s, and she said, Raymond, when somebody needs your help and come ask for your help that person. She said, when somebody help you, always be thankful. And she said, greeting is very important. You always greet people very warmly. And I got so much. I could spend whole day talk about my mom. And but I'm sure, today I'm really excited because I'm talking with my professional. Overall, social workers are they're very good people. When you help other people, the blessing come back to you. So you bless the people. Thank you, MPP Deepak Anand. Okay.
Thank you so much. Before I start my conversation, and I want to talk to my big family here, I want everybody to turn on the cameras. Before Minister goes, I want to make sure that we build the memory with our youthful minister. And I'm not sure if Minister Chagger is still here, so we will appreciate her also. These are two wonderful people. Somebody coming from a background, immigrant background, Minister Chagger talked about women, talked about community service. And then we have Minister Cho, who's been in politics for over 40 years. Trust me, it takes a real man to be a politician for that long, because, I always say, if you put somebody to sing a song, after 2 songs, you say one more. You put a politician on the spot with the mic, well, you start thinking the opposite of it. So I'm not going to go beyond this, but again, the reason he's there for that long is because he has served the community. And that is Maso's goal as well, to serve the community. And, the reason I asked Minister Cho this question is that that's the basic mantra that I want our youth to know it. When somebody walks up to you to ask for a help, my friend, you're a little bit late. The help is provided when you see somebody is in a pain. You don't wait for them to come and ask for the help. You go forward and help them before they ask. And when you do that, there is a vicious cycle. And I always say, when you do good, good things happen to you. And when more good things happen to you, you want to do more of the good things. And when you do more of those good things, more good things happen to you. So this is one cent I wanted to add on to Minister Cho, but we're here to celebrate our Asian Heritage Month. So I want to talk about the beautiful performance youth did. I truly have to tell you the truth. I performed in person, in front of them, enjoying it. But as you know, we're going through a COVID-19, and thanks to everybody who's taken the vaccine, and thanks to all the frontline workers who's actually administered those vaccines. Think about it, if you were not there, what we would do. So hopefully June 14th, you're going to see a transition happening. By July 1st, you're going to see a big change happening. Minister said, government has done an incredible job. All 3 levels of government has done a good job. If you are 80 plus, you're eligible for a second dose as good as May 31st, which is day after tomorrow. And if you're 70 plus, you can get your dose by July 14th. If you're looking for any appointment, there's tons of appointments available at Trillium Health Partners. So again, I would highly encourage each one of you have a big reach. Please reach out to especially the international student and our youth. Tell them it is extremely important. We talk about the community service. This is also community service to get vaccinated. So please reach out to them. Make sure they don't have hesitancy, and tell them there are a few things your government has done. Number 1, if you're taking a vaccine and if you're working, you don't have to worry about your salary because you will get paid for that day. So you get paid for the first 3 days. Even if you're getting vaccinated, and if there is an issue with the vaccine, you cannot go to work for a day or 2. Your government will take care of up to $200 a day. And secondly, if there are people who think there could be a little longer effect of those. So thanks to the federal government, there's another program which is called CRSB. You can apply up to 20 days for $100 a day. So the reason I'm sharing with these is some of the things which all these international students specifically, because they come from a background, they have to earn to make sure they have the money available to pay for the next tuition fees. We understand that, and that is why the government, not only for them, for everybody, has brought this program. One more thing Minister talked about, Minister Cho, do you know in our Ontario Legislative Assembly, we have 124 MPPs, and 28 of the MPPs are actually born out of Canada. And that is 1 in 4. Think about it. On my screen, I see 3, 3, 6, and 7, and 8 people. So if you have 8 of us here and we all were MPPs, 2 were actually born out of Canada. And that is the mosaic of our Canadian Ontario. So I think it is our responsibility to stand with each other and be the peacekeeper. Especially what we've seen recently, we've seen anti-Asian racism. We talk about because of the COVID-19. And thanks to my good friend, Minister Cho also talked about, Vincent K has brought a bill called Bill 299, and I will be speaking on that bill, important bill. But it's not just anti-Asian racism. It's about any sort of racism. We came from a country where we believed in Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, means one world, one family. And where do you want to go look for it? You don't really need to look for anywhere. If you come to the GTA, you come to Ontario, we have a people from 150 countries speaking 202 languages right here. And we are that family. So with that, I want to congratulate every member of my family here at Maso for adopting me, for being there with me. And I can't thank you guys enough. Minister talked about taking a help. I'm always there to take a help from you. Whenever I need some of my resident is in a pain, I can tell you, a lot of you know me, I call you in the middle of the night. Prasad Nair knows it very well. I call many times in the day too, to make sure that when another family member is in a need, I have a place to go to. So thank you so much for putting together this event. More thank you for doing what you're doing. With that, I'm going to stop. I thought there's a time for clapping. And that is for MS. That's for Maso.
Thank you, sir. We are indeed grateful that you are part of our family, and we are so proud to be connected with you, and so proud that you consider us as equal members of your household as well. We really appreciate your humble words about us, and for everybody who's listening in, who's joined us from everywhere. We love that you're part of our group, and we hope to continue this for a very, very long time to come. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Now
And time for the picture. Who's taking the picture?
I think Georgie is, yes.
Okay. Everybody, please turn on the camera. Perfect. Georgie, go ahead, please. You're the boss.
Thank you. Oh, are we good with the photo?
Yes.
Lovely.
3, 2, 2, biggest smile you can have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Minister Cho, again. We really appreciate that you could all join us. We are so grateful. Our next speaker was supposed to be Dr. Gaibrie Stephen. He is an ER physician from the Peel region. We were expecting him, but unfortunately, he is unable to join us today. But we still extend our support. We still extend our thanks for all his support. Why do we celebrate Asian Heritage Month? Why do we have to recognize the contributions? And from where did all of this start? And where are we heading to? To enlighten us with our anti-Asian racism in the light of COVID-19 pandemic, I would like to invite Ms. Katherine David, MSW, Community Engagement Worker, CAS Peel. She passionately works towards the diversity, equity, and inclusion. She also leads many committees for the welfare and has been a catalyst of change. She will be accompanied by Ms. Angela Fedalvaro, BSW student at Renison College, affiliated with the University of Waterloo. Over to you, Ms. Katherine.
Hello, hi everyone. It's so nice to be with you today, and thank you to the MASWO team to inviting Angela and I for this lovely event. And I see some familiar faces here, so it eases my heart, calms my nerves to see all of you. So I'm going to share my, I do need abilities to share screen, host. Oh, can someone help?
Can you share now?
Oh, there we go. Now it's working. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, so thank you again. Loving all the messages, and speeches that have been shared, and so inspired by the work that you're doing, MASWO. I really, am so thankful that you've invited us today. So as mentioned, Angela is here with me. She's a placement student with our team and, supporting will be supporting with the presentation. And we're very excited to talk a little bit about, the history of anti-Asian racism and with it that's been happening now, but also, how you can be a support, how you can be an ally, not just to your clients, right? To, we're all social workers, not just to your clients, but also to the entire community. So again, this is such a very important month, Asian Heritage Month, and really value the collaboration and diversity that's being discussed today. Because I think, again, if we think about the values within most Asian cultures, that's something that we all integrate into our lives, right? That collaboration. So we'll start with just talking about, again, just the populations of Asians in Canada, Asian diaspora in Canada, and I'll pass it on to Angela because it's really important info to help understand why do we even celebrate Asian Heritage Month.
Sure. So for this slide, Catherine, or the next slide?
Oh, is it not showing? Is it showing?
Oh yeah, this is just the Asian diaspora in Canada. So in the entire Canadian population, 3 Asian origins were among the 20 most commonly reported origins: Chinese, close to the 1.8 million people; East Indian, approximately 1.4 million; and Filipino, around 800,000. These 3 origins were amongst the most common Asian origins reported by first and second generation individuals. Chinese, Lebanese, and Japanese were the most common Asian origins reported by individuals in the 3rd generation or more. It is important for us to celebrate Asian Heritage Month and acknowledge anti-Asian racism because there is a large representation of Asians in Canada. From the 2016 census, this graph highlights the high percentage of Asians within the visible minority population in Ontario, and there is diversity within Asian cultures recognizing South, East, and West Asia. This emphasizes that Asians are not a monolithic culture. As we saw in the Ontario graph, Toronto shows a similar population trend. The graph of visible minorities on the left shows the high percentage of diverse Asian population, and the graph on the right shows more than half of the population in Toronto are visible minorities.
So in terms of the history of anti-Asian racism in Canada, obviously we don't have time to go through a comprehensive review, but we thought it would just be important to share and just bring to your attention, so that you have an idea of the existence of discrimination towards Asians in Canada, which dates back as early as the 1800s. Because again, the important message here is that anti-Asian racism isn't just in COVID times, right? Or it's not just in the times of SARS. This has been happening, and it helps us get a better understanding in terms of what's transpired and what we need to do, right? What changes we need to do moving forward. So for instance, with yellow peril, again, this is back early 1800s. This is a term that would refer to Asian settlers from China and Japan, as they were seen as unassimilable, unsanitary, underhanded, and scheming. So they were viewed as a threat to white Canada, right? White people thought that Asians would be removing or taking away opportunity for jobs and land and many other things. There's also the Chinese head tax. Again, this is in 1885. This is a tax that was imposed on a Chinese person entering Canada in an attempt to discourage Chinese immigration. And this started at $50. And then in 1900, it increased to $100, and then $500 in 1923. So this was in effect for 38 years. And over that time, around 82,000 Chinese immigrants paid nearly 23 million in taxes. And then, the continuous journey arrangement. This is something that has affected immigrants from Japan and India. So basically, the continuous journey regulation was an amendment to the Immigration Act in 1908. And this prohibited the landing of any immigrant that didn't come from Canada. So this basically prohibited them from coming from any other route. So immigrants were required to purchase a through ticket to Canada from their country of origin or otherwise be denied entry. So this regulation primarily affected immigrants from India and Japan, since the main immigration routes from those countries didn't offer direct passage to Canada. So again, you'll see here, right, the existence of racism, trying to exclude Asians from Canada has existed for many years, many centuries. And so, we've already discussed since COVID the rise of anti-Asian racism. And thank you, Minister Cho, for mentioning that May is Anti-Asian Racism Education Month, because that's also very critical to, the work that needs to be done as a community moving forward to build that awareness. So, we know that 2020 was obviously a challenging year for everyone. But, the rise of anti-Asian racism was something that we saw. And, as Canada and US received news and information about the COVID-19 virus in 2020, racist and xenophobic opinions and remarks towards Asians, specifically with the Chinese community, began to surface. So many Asian individuals around the world have encountered racist remarks and attacks after coronavirus was first discovered in Wuhan, China in late 2019. People were blaming Chinese people for the cause of the COVID virus and therefore shunning them. So not only Asian communities were struggling with the already existing challenges with COVID, but also having to face the racism and as well as worrying about their loved ones being attacked, right, when being out in the community. So we, saw things like terms like Kung flu or Chinese virus as slurs being used to refer to the COVID-19. Obviously, terms or words well known to be used by former President Donald Trump. And obviously this didn't help the situation, as he continued to say these racist comments in press conferences and on social media, right? Other slurs included bat eater, dirty Chinese, dirty Asian, things like that. We saw our children and youth being bullied and rejected. An example, in an online petition that was started by parents in York region, created a lot of stir in the news, as it was requesting for mandatory quarantine for students who have traveled to China. And this was in January 2020. So even thinking of that, it makes me wonder, if this is how the parents are reacting, what else is being said either to their children or in front of their children that's embedding these racist ideologies in their children's minds? And then, of course, there was the tragic shooting in Atlanta that was just in March of this year that took the lives of 8 people, mostly women, Asian women. And this was obviously very critical and I could say a turning point in terms of Asian communities rallying together to talk about anti-Asian racism that had been happening since the beginning of the pandemic. So it's really important to also be mindful of how these things are being discussed as well in the media, because even with the shooting, it was really disappointing on how the news cycles continued to capture the story as a white man who had a bad day, right? Bad day and had a sex addiction, and not focusing on the Asian women who had lost their lives. This further minimizes their lives as they focused on the issues of the shooter. And in another situation, we see white privilege even in this situation, where the aggressor, the perpetrator, is being the kind of focal point to the story rather than the victims.
The Chinese Canadian National Council Toronto chapter, along with partner organizations, gathered data from Asian Canadians who reported incidents online from March 10, 2020 to February 28, 2021. During this time period, 1,150 cases of racist attacks against Asian Canadians were reported, with 507 incidents logged between January 1st and February 28th alone. Over 600 incidents reported took place in the Greater Toronto Area. Approximately 30% of incidents are assaults, including coughing, spitting, or physical violence. This is a 50% increase of reported assault incidents since early 2020. 65% of incidents are in the form of verbal harassment, including name-calling, racial slurs, threats, or swearing. And 60% of incidents reported involved women, and women continue to be disproportionately impacted by anti-Asian racism since this reporting started. And we can also relate back to that Atlanta shooting of many women's lives were lost because of the anti-racist attack. The information for the slide also came from the Chinese Canadian National Council, and these numbers may coincide with the location of the organizations collecting the data. This reflects anti-Asian racism is occurring and being reported throughout Canada, with 28% in Vancouver, 26% in Toronto, 5% in Montreal, and 3% in Calgary and Ottawa. The first slide that was up shows the demographics of the reported incidents. In the racial category, 83% of incidents reported involved East Asians. Under location, 45% occurred in public spaces, such as along the street, sidewalk, or park, and there are other locations where it might not be expected, such as private residence. In the age category, 45% was reported by 19 to 35-year-olds, and 33% was reported by 36 to 54-year-olds. And this, again, differs from media coverage, where the media emphasizes older adults being assaulted. And this can also reflect that those who are within 19 to 54-year-olds are more likely to access technology and are able to report easily.
So we also want to acknowledge, we've talked a lot about, the impacts to East Asian communities, but also how has this been impacted to the South Asian communities as well? What does anti-Asian racism look like? And of course, as we know, the recent surge of COVID cases in India, we have heard that South Asian communities have expressed concerns for racist attacks or incidents towards them. There have already been reports of verbal assaults, like "go back to India," "this is your fault." That's referencing the travel ban on India and Pakistan that was implemented in Ontario, Quebec, and BC. People are demonstrating their anger, frustration, obviously through these comments, but unacceptable, right? Obviously, and completely inappropriate. The term Indian variant being used to refer the B1617 variant in the media, that with people constantly hearing that, how is that going to impact, the narrative that is going to be shared in terms of, and how South Asian people are going to be viewed. So looking at all this, we can only think of, the impact this has had on mental health. Not only are communities feeling fearful in terms of, racism, xenophobic acts towards them, but also managing the grief and loss of loved ones, whether back home in India or here in Canada, in Ontario, right? There's so many layers to this. And this may even trigger experiences or trauma from any sort of racist, Islamophobic encounters that were experienced back during 9/11. Many South Asian communities were attacked during that time as well.
We wanted to highlight the intersectional identities, which further diversifies the Asian population, both within and between Asian cultures. These intersectional identities include, but are not limited to, gender, sexual orientation, faith or religion, age, mixed race, immigrant or refugee status, and disabilities. This emphasizes the complexity and layers of an individual and highlights how Asians can further be marginalized in Canada. Within the LGBTQ2S+ community, someone who identifies may also experience homophobic remarks. Within faith or religion, there's a significant percentage of Muslims from Southeast and East Asia, including Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia, and those from South Asia, including India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. With an immigrant or refugee status, it can bring additional fears or worries of being a newcomer and adjusting to the Canadian system. In addition to these identities, there is the social determinants of health to consider amongst Asian communities. Factors such as income and social status, education and literacy, social supports and coping skills, and physical environment can impact an individual or family's experiences in living in Canada. For example, there's a large number of positive COVID-19 cases within low-income neighborhoods, which disproportionately impacts those living in these communities.
So, we also need to consider how the model minority myth impacts racism towards Asian communities. Model minority myth was popularized in 1966 by a sociologist by the name of William Pedersen, as he wrote a New York Times article. And so for the past several decades, the model minority myth has been prevalent in the general public as a counter argument for anti-Asian racism. We know that it focuses on prevailing stereotypes of Asians as hardworking, independent, intelligent, economically prosperous. Asians are viewed as rule-abiding and thus do not have a need that warrant societal and government policy concerns. So while these traits are viewed as positive towards Asians in Canada, it creates misconceptions about us. It actually silences our voices in times of crisis. It hinders our community from speaking up and being an advocate for ourselves, our families, and other marginalized communities. So when we think about anti-Asian racism, model minority myth applies because this could lead to the underreporting of Asian hate crimes and racism due to internalized beliefs. Don't complain, don't cause any problems, just like what the sign says, right? Keep your head down. Don't talk about it. Don't rely on the government. Don't rely on social services to help you out, figure it out, right? And kind of looking at the history, that in terms of what has happened within our elders earlier, that was discussed in terms of the anti-Asian racism in history in Canada, I kind of understand, why our elders thought this way. It was a way of survival. It was a way of survival in a country that you felt that you didn't belong to nor were even welcomed. So it's important that knowing what we know now, that we can't enable this mentality. We shouldn't enable it, and we should address it. We need to demystify the model minority myth, as it also creates a wedge between Black and Asian communities. So allyship in practice, right? We're all social workers here. But we always gather this information, and so much knowledge. But how do we apply this into the work that we're doing with our communities, with our clients, even with our families and loved ones, right? So encouraging reporting. If you're working or if you're engaged with someone, speaking with someone, and they're hesitant, encourage them to report. Provide space for your clients, for anyone really, to discuss their experiences, and do not undermine their experiences, right? Because I think, again, that could be impactful in terms of the willingness to share and to report. So definitely encouraging it, right? Celebrating culture. I'm kind of echoing the sentiments that were expressed by Minister Chagger, in that this is the makeup of our country, and this is our culture defines us and is part of our identity and who we are. And so, we need to celebrate it and embrace it, instead of trying to, perhaps not talk about it or just kind of keep it in the background. Acknowledging how Asians have contributed to Canada. And I think this event alone really speaks to the contributions as well, in terms of currently how you've all contributed to the social work field in itself. But we also acknowledge that there have been a lot of economic contributions through businesses as well from Asian communities. As we also know that they have also served and protected our country. So it's important, right, to really celebrate these things. And again, Minister Chagger, Minister Cho, MPP Anand, you are also wonderful examples, role models really to our youth in terms of, you can be who you are, celebrate your culture, and obviously be successful in Canada, the work that you're doing. And allyship towards Black, Indigenous, and 2S LGBTQ 2S plus communities, any marginalized communities. This is really important in that, we come together and acknowledge the challenges, unique challenges that all communities are facing, and we see the strength and the power that what we can do when we all come together and support each other, and providing those culturally relevant resources. I think through this, through these experiences and challenges of anti-Asian racism, this has also opened the eyes that resources, services need to be available in different languages. And this is something, that's being developed. And so being able to connect folks with culturally relevant services and resources can really be impactful too, and encourage them to advocate for themselves and others. And responses when you encounter racism, I kudos Angela for finding these resources, because I think this is something for people where, if they encounter any sort of racism, some might not know what to say, right? So saying something like, COVID-19 doesn't discriminate, neither should you. Some things like this, responses that are seen here on the screen can kind of help people feel more equipped in knowing what to do, what to say in situations like that. Because again, some might not feel either comfortable, some might feel afraid, some just might not know what to say. And, we're talking about culturally relevant resources. Here's a list. Again, it's not the end all be all list, but these are some that we wanted to share with you today. We have no connection to these organizations or services, but again, part of the work that we do is resource sharing, right? So I think we have a list of these links as well that we could put in the chat so that you can save them on your phones, on your laptops, whatever it may be, so you have easy access to them. But again, a wealth of knowledge from all of these organizations and resources. And that brings us to the end. I say in Tagalog, I'm Filipino, Angela's Filipino as well. So we say maraming salamat. Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Catherine and Ms. Angela, for enabling us to stand for our rights and appreciate our contribution, live in equity, and as a social worker, how important we are, what we can do, what changes we can do. And that's a reflection, actually. And we have to, we have to think about it. Like, we have to stand together. As you said, many other communities, let's join hands together and go further and, speak for ourselves. Let's be the voice. So with that note, it was a reflection. Today was a reflection to many of us, I guess, about our strengths, on our resilience, and on our rights to live in equity. So I would now request Mr. Alan Thayil George, our executive member of Maso, very enthusiastic member of Maso, and to deliver the vote of thanks to all of you. Over to you, Alan.
Thank you, Sritisha. Thank you, Honorable Bardish Chagger, Diversity and Inclusion of Youth Minister, Honorable Minister Raymond Cho, Minister of Seniors and Access, Honorable MPP Deepak Anand for Mississauga, Malton, Katherine and Angela for spending this time with us and for participating in MASWO's Honoring Asian Heritage Month. As the speakers have aptly highlighted in their speeches, presentation, the contributions of Asian communities to the economic and cultural fabric of Canadian society are incredible and amazing. The Asian heritage in Canada is not a single story. It is a narrative of multiple cultures, languages, traditions, and ways of life. The Asian stories in Canada are rooted in resilience and perseverance. Our national narratives should duly include and recognize the experiences of our Asian communities And we all need to stand in solidarity with each other to fight all forms of discrimination against Asians as part of our relentless work for a just and inclusive society. I hope everyone enjoyed your time and thank you for joining today. As the COVID-19 pandemic has disproportionately affected the lives of the racialized communities, most hotspots in our cities are the places where Asian and Black communities live. The vast majority of the so-called essential workers, especially the healthcare workers, belong to the racialized communities. As we celebrate Asian Heritage Month, let us acknowledge the selfless services they offer every day in the front line to keep us all safe and healthy. Thank you all for joining the session. Over to you, Sritisha.
So that's a wrap. As we come to the end of this celebration, which is just the beginning of a revolution to stand together for the rights of an inclusive and equitable lives of us and building a promising future for our coming generations. On behalf of Maso, I would like to thank each one of you for taking time from your busy schedule with work or family. It is the feeling of oneness which have brought us together today in the future for the celebration of you, me, and us. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. May you all have a beautiful evening and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.